Hi, this is Doug Boone, and this video is part of the instruction series for PetroVisual. In this video, I will demonstrate using the map control. The PetroVisual map represents your Aries data and specially indexed, fully interactive GIS map that will provide the needed culture. For this video, we like to talk about how to use the PetroVisual map and all its features. Here we can see the map with everything being displayed. But it's probably most helpful to start with the map from scratch and move through these particular presentations. By doing this, I can say add, and I can say add a map. We'll bring up a map of the United States. These locations and how to display these spots are described in the PetroVisual map spot video file. So what we can do now is we have a number of different controls that allow us to control the screen and the screen movement and the zoom levels on that screen. Then we have another set of settings that will talk on what data is being displayed with those well spots. First of all, we want to zoom in to this area of the map. The easiest way of doing that is clicking in the zoom in button, moving across a corner and dragging that corner across the wells. We then zoom in further. You can see that PetroVisual will load in all the cultural data as we zoom in further and further. We'll zoom across again, but it's still in the zoom in state. And we'll see the wells and the wellbore traces. By zooming again, you'll see better the bottom hole and surface and kickoff points for these different wells. At this point, we just have some blue symbols on the map. Here's where we have flexibility to do lots of interesting things. We're going to go over to the settings panel and explain some things here. One of the first things we might do is go to layers. Layers describes what's being loaded across the web and what's being displayed on the map. You can see water bodies and parks and basins and minor roads. If you want to turn off water bodies, it's as simple as clicking off the water bodies and they won't be displayed when we zoom in. By clicking any place off from the dialog, we'll return back to where you were. Let's go look at a legend at this point. By clicking on legend, we'll have a control that shows everything that's available to look at. We will be showing some of this in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and put the legend on. We can put a title for that legend if we need to, or a subtitle. We can change the location of that legend. Right now it's on the upper right, but it could go in the different areas. We can change the font in that legend. We're going to use 8 for right now. And here's all the attributes that we can put on that legend. For now, I'm going to say symbol color, bubble data color, and contour data. But we can put all the other pieces on there. As soon as I click outside of that dialog, you'll see the results of that. And as we do these selections, you'll see more and more. We also have the ability to display shapefiles within the application. A shapefile is a lat-long file that's created by a number of different other systems. By clicking add and by clicking on those files, you'll bring them in transparency mode, but we can definitely assign any color we want to those. And they'll be then displayed on the map. So if I was to zoom out, you can see some of those shapefiles showing up. We can also select that multiple shapefiles. So by adding another shapefile, moving to another one, we can have those come in, again assign different colors to that, and even different transparency levels. And by clicking again on the map, you'll see those shapefiles. We can zoom back in and see how those be reflected with our wells. Next thing we can look at is actually defining the symbols and the symbol shapes and sizes. By going to select symbols, we can say, hey, what shape is the symbol? We can assign a number of different shapes to any attribute that's in the database. The default here is a circle. We'll go and pick some other ones here. I'm going to cancel this and say, let's do a symbol color. Right now it's blue, but we can assign that color to be a gradient or a default, or we can assign that color to any attribute in the database. In this case, we've got a number of operators in this field. So if I say quick filter, come down and select operator, but it could be based on any value that's in the property or the one-line table, including economic values. If I'm going to select operator, it shows all the operators and the well counts that are in that database. By saying select all here and then OK, we have assigned colors to each one of those operators. We can definitely change those any way we need to by clicking and selecting another one, or by saying OK. Now you'll see all those symbol sets change to represent those operators, and by clicking any place on the graph you'll see the operator names associated with the colors. And what you'll notice here is EnterPlus has the majority of the wells in this field. Also in that same dialog we can control color and the shapes of the bottom hole or the other locations for the well bore if you have directional wells. I'm going to actually zoom in by clicking the zoom in and moving across some of the existing wells so we can see more detail. I can come back into my symbol dialog again, and down here we can say, hey, here's where we select what we want those to look like, be it diamond or any other shape we want to work with. And here's the color for those. We can make those a little lighter shade if we want to. And here's the size we can work with those. We can move them down to maybe only 15 pixels. And you'll see those are shown again on the map. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit further to show you the place where we can do some labeling. So now we can also say, let's labels. We have 8 labels around each well. And we can label anything that's in the table, be it the property table or the one-line table. So I can come in here and say, hey, let's label with the lease name. And that might be above the symbol, but we can put other symbols all the way around it. It might be reserve numbers. We can control the fonts of that. Now in all the controls, I'm going to click now off the control. For labels, bubbles, and contours we need to have a selection set made. So by clicking this rectangular select, I can click and drag across the wells that are shown on the screen, and now we have those labels that we can see. You can also see the details of coming down into a section and seeing what goes on. 8 labels that can be displayed around each symbol set. I'm going to go ahead and turn labels off because it does get pretty busy. And let's work with something like bubbles and contours. I'm going to hit the zoom out button, where you can actually detect what level you want to zoom out to. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and select the wells in my map. This is again a rectangular select. I could select some wells, come in here and click a circular select, select other wells, and that changes to red when you do the selection set. There's a way of displaying what the underlying color is by clicking the hide. This is the hide the selection button. So you see the buttons there but still selected, but now if I want to do bubbles, I can bubble anything that's in the property or the one-line table. Here we're going to actually bubble ultimate recoverable oil reserves, and you can see these are all shown through our drop downs, coming down and clicking my ultimate oil, and those bubbles are shown as blue. Well, we can do a lot of other things with bubble colors and bubble shapes. You notice this is blue, but we have our dot 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 window here, which would indicate that we got another dialog. By clicking that, we're saying, okay, the default is blue, but I could change that color by any attribute in the database, by a numeric value over a gradient, or we could select by any text or label value or numeric value in the database different colors. I'm going to go hit a quick filter here, and in this case an attribute in the database that's well populated is this well type, and it's showing us the horizontal, long lateral, mid-length lateral, other attributes of different wells. By selecting all here and saying OK, I get a color assigned to each one of those. So as soon as I say OK at this point, you will see that the color would be attributed to the different attribute in the database. In this case, I'm going to click onto the map to take the dialog out, and you'll see that the bubble data, these are the horizontal wells, the long lateral wells, the unknown, the short laterals. You can see those. We also have the ability with the bubbles to change the transparency level to give more oblique or more transparent, whatever looks right. We can change the minimum and maximum bubble size, and we can actually specify those. We can actually hide bubbles if they're smaller than certain values. I'm going to go ahead and hide these bubbles for the time being so we can show our contours. So again, I'm going to click on the map to close the dialog. Let's go grab contours, and we can contour any value that's in the database and select anything that's a numeric value. In this case, depth, and there's the contours for depth, but you can see all the different attributes by lateral length, by lower perforations, by measured depth. All these are attributes of the database, and any numeric value can be contoured. It doesn't have to be just structural. That includes your present worth values or your ultimate reserve values, the coverables, anything you need to can be contoured. To let you know how the contour engine works, we also can do the transparencies just like we can with the bubbles. And when you get this just the way you want to, we can click off the dialog, and we can now zoom in to any area you want to. So let's zoom into a particular area. And by selecting or unselecting, you can actually change the contours. In this case, I'm going to hit the select button here, which is a point select. And by clicking on this point here, you'll see the contours change if that's not part of the real database. So we can click this one off here and see how the contours can change. Anytime you need to, you can grab this data and move it directly into Excel or copy it to the clipboard directly just by clicking the Excel button, a copy or save button. So it's very quick to create a map and all the attributes associated with that map. In this case, I'm going to turn the bubbles back on, and we're good to go. We can literally plot tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of spots on the map, all based on the lat longs that are part of the property table.